Inside the National. Still to come on this evening's show, what next for the Emirates football team now that it won't be going to South Africa? And there's more to the Dubai World Cup than horses. Some of the region's top hat designers were showcasing their latest models. But first, international news. Tensions are mounting again on the Korean peninsula. Japan has today deployed its PAC-3 interceptor missiles ahead of a planned launch by North Korea. Pyongyang says it will launch a satellite into orbit next week, but South Korea, Japan, and the U.S. say the satellite launch is a cover for ballistic missile testing and would violate UN Security Council resolutions. Foreign editor Michael Jabri-Pickett joins us now. Michael, we've got the first time that constitutionally pacifist Japan is deploying this missile defense shield. They are also reportedly starting to move their Navy warships into the area. Why is Japan taking this so seriously?
Well, they keep going back to the UN Security Council resolution, which says that North Korea cannot develop a ballistic missile program. They're saying this is an illegal act based on that resolution. Japan needs the world community to support them as they go forward and try and deter the North from launching any missiles.
Okay, but we've been seeing these flare-ups over the Korean peninsula between North Korea and South Korea, and often involving Japan, for the last 50-odd years. What do you think is special about the timing right now? Why is this being pushed on all sides right now, do you think?
The North recognizes that the only way that they're going to get the world community to pay attention to them is if they do something. So they have to launch this. Japan, in turn, is concerned that if the North is in fact developing and launching this missile, of course the North says it's a communication satellite, that things will change. The balance of power will change in the region. You have the US, you have South Korea, and you have Japan allied against the North. But the North Koreans have to do something to get the world community, just like they did in 2006, when they detonated what they said was an atomic bomb.
Right, and I guess we've got a new administration in Washington, so is there some element perhaps of posturing to make an impression on the new guys in the playground?
I think that's definitely the case. I think the North recognizes that they did what they did and had great success against Christopher Hill and the Bush administration, but now they have Barack Obama's administration in power, and they have to do something that's going to get Barack Obama's administration, the attention of Barack Obama's administration. And one way to do this is to do something. Now, again, they say it's just a communication satellite that they're launching into space, and it's going to develop their space program. The rest of the world doesn't seem to think so.
Right. Now, if, let's say, we have North Korea launch this missile between April 4th and April 8th, so next week, and bits and pieces of it do fall out of the sky over Japanese airspace, into Japanese airspace, over Japanese waters. The Japanese are saying that they're going to fire to intercept that hardware, but the North Koreans are saying that any intercept would be considered an act of war.
But it's a tricky thing, because if something is falling off a missile, would that still be an act of war, or would it actually have to be shooting the missile down before it launches off anything? Satellite photos right now of what the North are doing can't tell if it's a satellite, communication satellite, or if it's a warhead. So again, this is the North playing brinkmanship, as you mentioned earlier. They have to ratchet up the ante as much as possible, get everybody in the world community concerned that the North could do something reckless. That way you can get the US and everybody else back to the table, and the North can demand more things from them.
In other international news, thousands of protesters have taken to the streets of Europe's capitals, urging Western leaders to tackle poverty, joblessness, and climate change. Organizers in London, Paris, Rome, and Madrid are calling for a new kind of global justice. They say there will be more marches this week to pressure leaders in the run-up to next week's G20 summit in London. The rallies have so far been peaceful, but security is tightening in Britain amid concerns that banks and other financial institutions could be targeted in violent protests. Spanish judges have agreed to consider charging 6 former U.S. officials with providing the legal justification for alleged torture at Guantanamo Bay. Human rights lawyers have filed the case against 6 of former U.S. President Bush's top officials. If the Spanish court decides to issue warrants, the former Bush-era officials could face arrest on leaving the U.S. Spanish courts can prosecute offenses such as torture or war crimes, even if they occurred in other countries. Heavy rains are causing mayhem round the globe. Wet storms across southern China left weekend travelers stranded in floodwaters. The rains there are expected to continue for the rest of the week. In Indonesia, bodies are still being pulled from the muddy waters and the wreckage of the Situ Gintung Dam. Heavy rains caused the dam to fail on Friday, flooding 400 homes and killing at least 93 people in the middle of the night. And in the U.S. state of North Dakota, thousands have evacuated their flooded homes to spend the weekend in temporary shelters. Officials there say Red River levels are finally set to recede, but the cleanup will take months. A brand new team climbs the podium after today's Australian Grand Prix. Sports editor Murray Walker joins me now. Murray, a new dawn for racing.
Absolutely tremendous. Very, very exciting times for us because the Australian Grand Prix kicks off the Formula One season, and of course the climax to it's going to be in Abu Dhabi in November. And for Jenson Button to win and Rubens Barrichello, his teammate, to come second for the new Brawn team, who were only born at the beginning of this month. It's tremendous, very exciting times for the sport. They seem to have a very level playing field now. Button has only won one Grand Prix before. He was the jet set boy of the many years ago.